Good morning, everybody. Oh my goodness, another busy morning. Because we cover stuff that many others won't. Because you know what? I don't care if we get demonetized because this information has to get out. So thank you for joining me this morning. Kind of breaking news again. In Woodland Park, Teller County, Colorado, charges have been dropped against the Pervo elder. And I have the news clip and I'm going to play it right now.
In Teller County, it's case dismissed. A religious elder accused of sexually assaulting 8 children in the Woodland Park area, no longer facing criminal charges tonight.
We go to the Teller County Courthouse in Cripple Creek for this major update. That's where investigative reporter Dan Beatty is live after questioning the former Jehovah's Witness elder this afternoon. Dan?
Even though charges were dropped in this case, both prosecutors and the Teller County Sheriff's Office tell 13 Investigates they're still investigating former Woodland Park Jehovah's Witnesses elder Sean Swisher. We asked Swisher about that investigation earlier this afternoon inside the Teller County Courthouse following a court hearing. Prosecutors say they're still investigating this case. Do you anticipate that additional charges will be filed in this case? Sean Swisher was silent to 13 Investigates as he walked out of a Teller County courtroom on Monday. Swisher was booked in the Teller County Jail for 20 days on $250,000 bond after being arrested on 8 counts of sexual assault against a child. Over decades, more than a dozen people spoke to law enforcement about Swisher's behavior when he was an elder inside the Jehovah's Witness Kingdom Hall in Woodland Park. The Teller County Sheriff's Office executed search warrants at Swisher's home and the Kingdom Hall in Woodland Park. But charges were dropped by the district attorney's office due to a lack of evidence. Any message you want to get out to the people of Teller County? A lot of people over decades came out, spoke about how you either sexually assaulted, harassed, or abused young children. Any messages that you want to send out to those people? At Monday's court hearing, both the prosecution and defense argued over Swisher's seized property, which includes thousands of dollars worth of laptops, cell phones, and cameras. The defense argues, now that charges were dropped, the property should be returned. But the state contends the investigation into Swisher remains ongoing, and they need more time to download the content. Prosecutors believe child porn and video of the alleged offenses are on those digital devices. The state now has until late April to either file new charges or give Swisher his property back. Reporting live in Cripple Creek, Dan Beatty, 13 Investigates.
So I just hope the prosecutor is on the ball and will get this information off of his electronic devices, his laptops, his computers, his cameras, and all of that, and refile charges, because this Pervo has to go to jail. I mean, this is disgusting. So anyway, that's the breaking news this morning, and I will put the links down below. There is an article that KRDO did about this. Basically says the same thing of what they just said in the clip. So my goodness, my goodness. Also, I got a couple other things here, and I want to apologize to Larchwood. I am so sorry. I forgot to give you credit the other day for finding that they had taken down the announcement of Anthony Morris, and so I apologize. I even had it on a post-it note on my desk, but got lost in the twilight zone. So I'm sorry. It was Larchwood on Twitter who noticed, and it was interesting because they had done some posts, and it was like they changed the comma, and then the announcement was gone, and then it was back, and then it was gone, and then it was permanently gone. So it was kind of weird, you know, what was going on that day. So I want to thank Larchwood for keeping an eye on that for us and alerting us that it had been changed. So anyway, I need to give credit where credit is due. Now I also want to thank all of the rest of you who have sent me screenshots from your version, your foreign language of the JW.org, because the announcement is gone, But under the article, who is the governing body, his name is still there. And so this person, thank you very much, sent me from their German website, and his name is still there. Dutch, several others. Yeah, so it is interesting. This is, really strange. And I know on some of the forums are like, why don't Kim and Mike in Atlantis come out with some information on this? And why isn't there a letter being read? Well, first of all, if there was such a letter, we would be letting everybody know. I highly doubt that Watchtower will announce to everybody what happened. They're not going to do that. Think back to when Raymond Franz was removed. I was a JW at that time. I believe it was 1980. Now remember, they didn't mention anyone by name. A Watchtower article came out a little bit later. Remember? You can look it up. They never mentioned them by name, but they talked about apostates within the organization at Bethel. But they never named them specifically. So what you need to do now is just look for an article that may, or a broadcast, that may be kind of like a marking talk. Because remember, that's what they would do. Well, that's what they do. So, I highly doubt that there will be an elder's letter going out. Oh, this is what Aunt Mo did. No. Now, I was thinking about some things, and I watched J.W. Thought's latest video. Wally, good job, because I agree with you. I don't feel sorry for Anthony Morris for being removed, because look at how much damage his manipulation has done. Think about it. All of the governing body, their manipulation in their talks on JW broadcast, look at the damage their policies have done. Look at the way they hide these pervos. How many kids did it hurt all these years? So I don't feel sorry for him, and he's responsible in part for all of the damage, for destroying our families, for the shunning policy, for disfellowshipping, for hiding the child abuse. Don't feel sorry for him. I hope he gets help, and it would be nice if he came out and said why, but I have a lot of questions for him. All right, now something else here, and in case I didn't mention it earlier, I want to thank David for sending me this information on the breaking news in Teller County, Colorado. And also, I had a phone call, and I want to thank you very much, because we know that JW was shot and killed while out in the field service, sitting in his car. And they said that there are some territories in their area, which would be Florida, that are so dangerous that they're teaching the JWs how to go to the door without getting shot or stabbed. They're saying, like, when you go to knock or ring the doorbell, stand to the side. See, and most people in the cities have those ring doorbells now, to where the minute you hit the doorbell, well, as soon as there's motion up by your front door, the video camera goes on. So they're teaching Jehovah's Witnesses to kind of go off to the side and, reach, and don't stand in front of the door. But I mean, if territories are that bad, see, and that's another thing the governing body are responsible for. How much do they push going out in service? If you do not go out in the field service, you are blood guilty, and you might not make it through Armageddon. See, we've been taught that our entire lives. So anyway, I will put the links down below to all of this, and thank you everybody. I've got a lot of emails, and I haven't had a chance to go through the recent ones yet, and there's some that say urgent. So, just have a little bit of patience with me. I am trying, because I'm sure there's some more news coming in, and I appreciate all of you sending me this news coming in. Now, while I was editing this, I happened to have gotten a message from Larchwood. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
You're not going to even acknowledge me here now?
Welcome to my video.
Yes.
Mikey had to join me on this one because things get real interesting. All right, now I want to mention that I have Ralph Furley's first edition book from 2020, and I looked through it and I couldn't find anything even close to this. And so I asked Larchwood where this was from, and he said it was from Ralph Furley's website. And anyway, Larchwood had sent me the link to this post, and they posted it December 27, 2021. So that was after the edition I have. So I could see he had added some stuff. Now what's interesting is when you go to Ralph Furley, and for those of you who don't know who he is an ex-district overseer in Norway, if I remember correctly, that basically woke up and wrote a book over
What's going on with Watchtower?
Yeah, the governing body. And, you know, it was at that time I think we mentioned that there could be a schism going on within the organization, and we're wondering if this is all part of it. I don't know. I don't know. But anyway, so I went to Ralph Furley's website and got his latest edition, and you can get it for free, so I'll put the link down below. And it's been sanitized and names have been removed and some of the details. And when you go to the latest edition, I believe it was the third edition, it's on page 144, and you can read it for yourself. It's, like I said, been condensed and sanitized a little bit, and I'm wondering if Watchtower wasn't threatening him with a lawsuit because of what it had said. But Larchwood's post on Twitter from 2021, this is what the page said, and I'm going to read it. With Barry now out of the picture, there was no one who could stand up against Juarez. Now remember, I mentioned Juarez the other day and how he was appointed a GB member with the accusation against him. And even Barbara Anderson basically said the same thing in that clip I had from her. So, you know, this is proof that there is no Holy Spirit appointing these men. It's all who you know and how much money you have and who your buddies are. It's the same old good old boys club.
Well, isn't that the shits? To realize they're not appointed by Holy Spirit.
Well, it shouldn't shock you. You figured that out even as a
As
JW.
a JW, I figured that one out.
Yeah. Thank you for joining me, by the way.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, in case you guys hadn't known, I just noticed, I just popped in for the moment.
Yeah, well, when I was reading this to him, he's like, oh, I got to do a rant about this. So I'm going to read what this page said back in 2021. Okay, going on. Two brothers who were close to the situation told me that Juarez had the final say in any appointment of new members of the GB, and that he handpicked new members who were hardliners like himself. See, and we've been saying for a while now that they're going to have to soften and change and rebrand themselves. And
Because the Jehovah model is absolutely dead. 1914 has come and gone. That generation is nowhere to be seen. And Armageddon didn't come. So they got it wrong.
yeah, exactly. And so we know Antmo has said some very vile things. You know, the little matchstick spell, he was cursing all of us and, you know,
The human hot
gonna
dogs.
be taken out.
The whole driver's license thing, which,
Yeah.
by the way, Jane Doe is going to do a little bit of research on that and show you that that whole driver's license thing isn't anything new. All Anthony Morris did was just kind of repackage it.
Yeah, and also the blue envelope. If you go to his YouTube channel, and he did this several years ago. I believe it was Anthony Morris and the Vietnam Wars. He did kind of like a biography series of several videos. Now, when you watch that, he has military records from AMO, and it appears AMO never left this country. So for everyone who's saying he has PTSD, obviously it's from something else, because he did not actually go to war in Vietnam.
According to the channel The Blue Envelope.
Yeah, exactly. So, going on, that he handpicked new members who were hardliners like himself. This includes the present members, G. Loesch, M. Lett, David Splain, A. Morris, G. Jackson, but D. Sanderson and K. Cook were chosen later and are not included, because we all know Juarez died. So they weren't handpicked by him. Later and are not included. Yet they were now chosen by those men who had been handpicked by Juarez. The clear evidence that the mentioned 5 GB members were handpicked by Juarez is that all of them reflect the same hard sentiments and views that Juarez had, and all of them appear to be following his lead after he is gone. Then skipping down here a little bit, there's a paragraph. It says, what were the consequences for the organization that Juarez was the last man standing and thus the winner of the power struggle? One brother from the inner circle wrote, the organization in the 1990s was slowly being taken over by Brother Juarez and his anti-intellectual and, in my view, anti-scriptural worldview. Once Brother Barry died, it took him only a few more years to complete his coup. The organization fundamentally changed after this. It became totally obsessed with power, authority, and control. Qualities that characterize Brother Juarez, and in many ways he is no longer recognizable as the religion that we knew.
Isn't it so easy to see this stuff? Because we're living a proof of the tyrannical organization that Watchtower has turned into. Yeah. And in a lot of ways, they absolutely mimic what's going on in the governments around the world. They're one in the same.
Now, I'm going to read what is on page 144 now in his current edition of the book that is on his website. Barry was loved and respected by his men, and he was the exact opposite of T. Juarez. Most of the members of the GB supported Barry against Juarez. In 1992, Barry wrote the balanced article on higher education that I will discuss in Chapter 4. In the following years, Juarez got more power, and in 1999, Barry died. After that, Juarez got more influence, and when important decisions were made by the GB, his opinion often was listened to. According to my informant from the inner circle, this brother also wrote that when new members were added to the GB, Juarez had the final say, and therefore persons with the same hardline views as himself were chosen. This is the case with the 5 new members that were chosen between 1994 and 2005. And you can go on to read it, but you can see he had to sanitize it, get rid of the GB's names and stuff like that. But as you know from what I read of the previous one, that's what it was in an earlier edition as of December of 2021.
See, and this isn't so hard for us ex-members to actually comprehend this power struggle or anything like this, and or be able to recognize that Jehovah's Holy Spirit didn't appoint crap. Because even Raymond Franz said in his book, Christ is a Conscience, when he was serving as a governing body, all the decisions were done by a 2/3 majority vote. It's got nothing to do with God's Holy Spirit, because if God's Holy Spirit truly ruled as they claim it does, it'd be 100%. Everybody would be on board. But when you have a 2/3 majority vote, that tells you right there, not everybody is in agreement. And if you're really going to contextualize this with Jehovah's Spirit guiding them, then apparently some are actually fighting against Jehovah's Holy Spirit. Otherwise, they would have voted with the majority. It's all bullshit, people. And even this stuff right here, you can absolutely see it's a corporation. They will put who they want in that's going to best suit the ideologies and the drive of the corporation, not the religion.
And like Mike mentioned, it's not difficult to understand that when you see down at the congregation level, this is exactly the same thing they do. Every congregation we've ever been in, it is relatives and friends of the elders and circuit overseer, you know, the good old boys club, that get appointed and get the talks on the circuit assemblies, the district conventions and all of that.
Right.
They're the ones that get appointed. But then when you get men who have a conscience and speak out against, you know, all of the nonsense, they don't get appointed. His dad, it took a circuit overseer to get him appointed as an elder because his dad was basically the same way. And here, you know, his dad Roger is an auxiliary pioneering almost every month. And they're like, why aren't you appointing this man as an elder?
Can't believe you were pointing the finger at me over that one. I resemble that, you know, because that's exactly how I was.
I was hauled in the back room, and sometimes you dragged me into some of that stuff. So, I mean, it's not hard to see that if this happens at the congregation level, it's going to happen clear up to the top.
And unfortunately, that male ego spills over into the community too.
Yeah.
And that's where we need to be very, very careful and keep ourselves in check. Because if we are mimicking the very power struggle that we can come to recognize coming out of Watchtower and we don't shed that, well, you're just acting like the people that that programmed you to act that way.
Yeah. Yeah. And
You know,
we see the good old boys club in this community too.
same thing in the community.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. So take it for what it's worth. We already know that there is no Holy Spirit associated with the Bible, no Holy Spirit associated with the governing body of Jehovah's Witnesses, and all I can say is, hey, get ready to kiss the sun, because I'm coming at you next.
Maybe he'll hurry and get removed. Of course,
Maybe.
it doesn't matter because you already have the video of him talking about that.
Exactly. Because
Yeah.
it's just this simple.
Yeah, exactly. So you all have a wonderful day. Thank you for watching.
Bye.
Bye.